Good afternoon, everybody. We're here for the Finance Committee. It is May 27th, 1:30 PM. We're at the Administration Building at Brownsville PUB. We do have a forum that'd like to call this meeting to order. Do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
No public comments? Okay, we have 5 items on our agenda. The first item, presentation, discussion of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board's financial performance report for the period ending April 30th, 2026.
Testing? Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, Chair Villarreal, members of the Finance Committee. I'm David Medran, and I serve as the Director of Finance for BPUB. And I will be presenting a high-level overview of our financial performance for fiscal 26 through the period ending April 30th. So this first slide is an executive summary dashboard of 7 key financial categories, each with its own gauge: red representing an opportunity for improvement, yellow representing a category that we are continuing to monitor closely, and green represents satisfactory or good performance. The first gauge is the flow of funds, and adjusted gross revenues came in lower due to a lowered FPEC rate. Year to date, $3.820 million has been generated to replenish the improvement fund. Additionally, debt service coverage is at 1.97 times, which is well above our 1.25 times minimum. This is further outlined on slide 4, which I'll be going over a little bit shortly. The next financial category is the fuel and purchased energy charge, or FPEC, which has generated an over recovery through April 30th of $19.77 million. And this will be used to offset future market uncertainty. As of April, the FPEC rate was 3.476 cents per kilowatt hour. This is noted on slide 8 of your package for the financial performance. The third financial category is the City of Brownsville transfer, which is higher than budgeted due to a lower FPEC rate. You will find this in slide 22 and 23, line 22, for a little bit more detail. The next financial category is personnel and non-personnel. The expenses came in lower than budgeted, primarily due to vacancies and some timing issues. The next category is the average bill, and it continues to be lower than the average MOU bill and the average IOU bill for 1,000 kWh. This slide there is noted on slide 8 of this presentation for a little bit more detail for the viewers at home. The next category is capital improvement plan. Year to date, the actuals and committed total $32.6 million and $28.2 million respectively, which represents 67.8% of the fiscal year 2026 approved plan. And for those who would like a little bit more detail, you can see that in columns F and I of slide 9 in this financial performance package. Overall, good news is that all key financial metrics are currently in compliance. And these include, among others, cash on hand, debt service coverage ratio, and debt to capitalization. And you'll find all of these, which we've noted on your slide 11 of your presentation. This next slide is our statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. It compares the same period in 2025 to 2026. But for purposes of today's presentation, I will be going over year-to-date through April of 26. Operating revenues came in at $124,131,921. From this, we subtract our operating expenses, which were $108,045,054, leaving us a net operating income of $16,086,867. From this, we further deduct non-operating expenses, which are shown in line 18 to 22 of slide 16. These total $11,380,152, leaving us an income before capital contributions of $4,706,715. To that, we add capital contributions through the period of April 30th of $12,435,483, leaving us a change in our net position of $17,142,198. To that, we add at the position at the beginning of the fiscal year of $510,826,541, leaving us a net position at the end of April 30th of $527,968,739. And as in all other prior periods, this slide and the statement are prepared in accordance with GAAP. So I apologize about that. This next slide is the flow of funds or a summary of revenues and expenses. And this slide has been prepared in accordance with our bond ordinance. It shows the year-to-date actual versus the budget. But for presentation today, I will be going over just the year-to-date actuals. But the viewers can see the variance from budget on the slide as noted above on this particular slide. Operating revenues came in at $116,685,176. To that, we add other revenues of $14,845,000 and change to come up with gross revenues of $131,530,864. From that number, we deducted by fuel and the Southmost Regional Water Authority expenses to come up with a deduction of $36,132,486, leaving us adjusted gross revenues of $95,398,378. This line item is quite important because it serves as the basis for the 10% City of Brownsville transfer that we made. From the adjusted gross revenues, we deduct other O&M, other operating expenses and debt service obligations of $78,387,073 to come up with a balance available after requirements of $17,011,305. From this, we deduct the City of Brownsville transfer and the utility benefit to the City of Brownsville of $9,539,838 to come up with a balance available for internal transfers of $7.471 million. From that, we deduct internal transfers of $3.65 million and change to come up with an available improvement fund replenishment of $3,820,686. So our total transfers to date were $7,471,467. And again, our DIRT service ratio was at 1.97, which is significantly above what we're required to maintain of 1.25 times. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
What was the average cost of kilowatt hour? I think you mentioned.
The FPEC
yeah.
Was 3.467.
Not the FPEC, the average cost of the kilowatt hour. Was that on the presentation?
The average cost of the kilowatt hour.
I think it said for 1,000 kilowatt hours.
There is the customer bill.
Yeah.
So
So what was the average?
the average of the bill? Of the average of our customer bills?
Yes.
Okay.
This,
Yeah, it's on slide 8. I can share that with, Mr. Long. On the, here is per 1,000 kilowatt, the residential average bill or the cost. BPUB, the MOUs, and the IOUs.
okay,
All right.
that was it. Thank you.
Okay, certainly, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. On page 4, real quick, on line number 8, the total, I guess, total cash utility benefit to the city of Brownsville, that was actually under budget, right? As reported on the statement. If I'm reading that correctly, like $554,000 on page 4.
Well, this is, so the, what was reported was the cash transfer to the city of Brownsville. And that was more favorable than planned. But to that number, we add the benefit to the city of Brownsville for the utilities.
Right.
So that number is not in the number that I had mentioned where we were
Over budget.
to the plus for the
Right.
city of Brownsville transfer.
Okay. So I guess the utility expense that they're incurring is a lot less than was budgeted. And therefore, in the transfer, the cash was over budget. The cash transfer,
The cash transfer was better than we had anticipated.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's it. Okay, if there's no questions, we'll go to the next agenda item. And that is item number 2, presentation on the purchasing procedures update.
Good afternoon. I'm Diane Solitaire. I'm going to give you a brief presentation on our purchasing procedures update. We'll go over the agenda. I'll give you the purpose, our procedures, a few of our procedures, and any questions. So the purpose of the purchasing procedure is to establish procurement guidelines related to public purchasing to ensure compliance with the appropriate state and federal laws, rules, and regulations. So effective on September 25, the Texas legislature passed Senate Bill 1173, which increased the competitive bidding threshold from 50,000 to 100,000. So right now, the buyers will get verbal or email quotes from at least 3 reputable vendors with a solicit, and will be solicited for purchases estimated to be over 3,000 up to including 10,000. Once it goes over the 10,000, we'll get competitive written quotes from at least 3 vendors in amounts over 10,000 up to including 100,000. So any purchases over 100,000 will use a competitive bidding process or the competitive proposal or the RFP process in accordance with the Texas Local Government Code Section 252. We also use state contracts, which the bidding process has already been completed by the state organization. And if allowed by the state contract, percentage discounts can be negotiated by purchasing staff. We do formal bids. So the formal bids are goods and services other than professional services. So purchases over 100,000 must go through the formal bidding process or the competitive RFP process as per the Texas Local Government Code Section 252. Professional services over 100,000 will use the request for qualifications or an RFQ or an RFP, request for proposal. The selection for the professional services shall be awarded based on demonstrated competence and qualifications to perform the services for a fair and reasonable price as per Texas Government Code Section 2254. So the timeline for formal bidding, it requires that we advertise in the newspaper for 2 weeks, 1 week apart. And the bid opening date must be at least 14 days after the date of the first advertisement. Right now, the Herald only has the newspaper on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so PUB advertises on Saturdays. And the deadline to submit the advertisement is Tuesday before the Saturday set for advertisement. Once we receive the bid, the RFP or the RFQ, the responses are sent to the end user for their evaluation. They'll usually put a team together to evaluate the responses. The complete bidding process can take from 3 to 6 months, taking into account the evaluation process, the approval process, board approval if applicable, and the contract process if required. We also need to consider the amount of time the vendor response is valid for. The general manager has certain approval limits. She's authorized to approve and execute contracts up to and including 200,000. The contracts executed under the general manager's authority are reported quarterly to the board of directors. We used to have another form that was called the purchasing policy authorization form. But is no longer used in order to consolidate in forms. We're using the document approval summary form, and it's been updated to include a checkbox for the purchasing policy authorization. So any purchase or change order over 50,000 up to including 200,000 requires the DAS or the document approval summary with the purchasing policy authorization checkbox marked. So any purchase over 100,000 must follow the bidding process. So any purchase or change order over 200,000 requires board approval. PUB also requires that if a vendor comes on site to do work for us, they do have to have insurance. So these are the insurance requirements. Usually, most of them are $1 million for the general liability. Workers' comp is required by law. Automobile, it's bodily injury, 50,000 each person, or 500,000 combined single limit per occurrence, and property damage of 1 million each occurrence. We also require professional liability errors and omissions insurance, which is $1 million annually on a claims-made basis for the duration of the project. The vendor must name Brownsville PUB together with the board members and its employees as additional insured on all required insurance policies except workers' comp. And the certificate holder address must be PUB's address. We also have the certificates of insurance found on our drive, where any employee can go on to our S drive and they can search if they're going to hire somebody to do a small job to make sure they have the insurance. For construction, we also ask for bonds. So we have a bid bond, a supply bond, performance and payment bonds, mostly used for construction and large equipment projects. The bid bonds, they just make sure that the contractors submit a serious bid proposal, and these bonds reassure that the bidders have financial credentials necessary to accept the job. If the bid is selected and the contractor declines the job or retracts the bid, the PUB can make a claim on the bond to recoup the difference between that bid and the next highest bid. And the bid bond must be included in the vendor's response if we require it. Supply bonds mandate that the suppliers provide materials, equipment, and supplies as defined in the purchase order. If the supplier fails to provide the supplies as agreed, the bond amount can be used to reimburse PUB for the resulting loss. Typically, the supply bond is used for large equipment like for substations and power transformers and that type of equipment. The performance bond is used for construction contracts and it's required for contracts in excess of 100,000 executed in the full amount of the contract conditioned upon the faithful and timely performance of the work. The payment bond is required for contracts in excess of 50,000 executed in the full amount of the contract solely for the protection of all claimants supplying labor and material for the project. In 2025, the purchasing department began utilizing BidNet as the electronic bidding platform. So we are now posting our bids, formal and informal bids on BidNet. So the vendors are allowed to submit their bids electronically, and the electronic bidding requires that identification, security, and confidentiality of electronic bids or proposals remain effectively unopened until the proper time. So as the bidders are submitting bids, like purchasing can't open it, they stay locked until the deadline that we put in there. So nobody can go in there and tell another vendor, you know, what the price is. The current bidding process remains as is. Also, we allow the vendors to still submit a paper copy of their bid if they prefer, but they must still submit it on the date and time set for closing of the bid. The procurement card. The procurement card is an alternative purchasing tool which provides an efficient and effective method of purchasing and paying for goods and services with a value of up to including $3,000. So the limit is 5 transactions per day. They have a single purchase limit not to exceed $3,000 and the spending limit per month per employee not to exceed $15,000. And then we have approved merchant category codes. So there are certain merchant codes that only a certain like computer equipment, only IT is set up with those merchant category codes. So they get blocked. They can get blocked if they try to purchase something that's not an approved MCC number. There are restricted commodities that cannot be purchased with a P card, and it's listed in our procurement card training manual. They are not allowed to split large transactions to avoid the purchasing process as per local government code section 252.062. So recently, PUB transitioned from Citibank to US Bank. So now the state has started using US Bank, so we're using that contract with the state. The employee requesting a P card can find the form electronically on the application on our desktop. And the employee fills out the form and then it goes with approval, all the approval levels before it comes to me. There's our staff there. Do you have any questions?
Do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay.
How often is this updated? I'm sorry. Is this updated as the law changes, the regs change, or do y'all look at it once every 2 years?
Our procedures are updated every 3 years or as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, item number 3, presentation discussion on the operations and maintenance 6-month budget review.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee member, Jorge Santillan, Finance Manager. And I'll go over the mid-year O&M budget review. BPUB's fiscal year starts October 1st and ends September 30th. March 31st is the midpoint of the year. And at this time, we conduct a comprehensive mid-year budget review that involves all departments. At this time, we review the spending levels based on percentage of budget spent and previous year spending trends and adjust as needed. We also replenish our budget accounts through interdepartmental transfers or identify budget amounts no longer needed. Funds no longer needed are transferred to contingency to reallocate if necessary later in the year. And during the mid-year budget review process, $211,511 was transferred to contingency. These slides represents a summary of O&M expenses in millions. Column A, those are the account types. or expense classifications, column B. Those are the accounts or expenses included in the account types. And then column C, that's the budget, FY 26 approved budget. Column D, the 26 actuals through March for six months of expenses. Column E, those are the FY 26 percentage of budget spent through March. And then the last column, column F, the 3-year average percentage of budget spent through March. And this can serve as a benchmark or as a point of reference when we look at the FY 26 percentages. Beginning with personnel, which includes wages, payroll, taxes, and benefits. In column E, the percentage of budget spent, 45.6, which is pretty much in line with slightly lower than the 46.1, the average. Next, office expenses, the average, column E, 44.7%, which is below the 50%. Now, column E, the ideal percentage in column E, we would like to be at least 50% or lower. In this case, it's 44.7%. Materials and supplies, 52.7%, slightly higher than the 50% where we would like to be at, but only by 2.7 percentage points. Miscellaneous general expenses, 48.2%. Transportation expenses, this is the fuel, parts, and tires, and this is at 60%. This is higher than the 50%, but it's in line with the 3-year average. And then analyzing this classification, we see that the fuel, that's the driver of the increase in the of expenses in this classification. Then we have the maintenance of general plant, 40.4%. Consultants, outside services, 48.1%. Fuel and purchase power, 30.8%. And we know that most of the majority of the expenses occur in the second half of the year. So this is 30.8 is as expected. And then the purchase of minor tools and equipment, 27.1, which is similar as the 3-year average of 33.3. The total expenses, column D, $83.6 million, and the total percentage spent of budget, 40.1, which is very close to the 3-year average. If we deduct or remove the fuel and purchase power, the very last line, we're at 47.2% of budget spent, which is almost 2% higher than the 3-year average. In this slide, we have the non-personnel O&M spending by division in millions. And here we see the range of percentages of budget spent from a low 12.2% to a high of 76.7%. Some budgets are used earlier in the year versus others, perhaps other departments later in the year. But overall, if we look at the last line, the grand total, we spent 46.3% of budget, which we're within budget. Slides 5 through 10 is the same as is the detail of slide number 4. I'm gonna skip again the last line. There's already said percentage, 46.3%. In this slide, we have the fuel and purchase energy by account. The last account, 7761, the credit that you see there, the 1.6 million, that's the representative net of the off-system sales minus the related expenses. Again, percentage of budget spent, 30.8%. And this is the personnel O&M spending by account. And I want to point out 2 accounts here, 6217, which shows a credit. During the FY 26 budget process, we budgeted the anticipated reimbursement from the OPEB trust interest earnings for the cost of BPUB retirees premiums included under account 6215, which is the account right above. We budgeted 707,000 as an offset, and reimbursement received through March total little bit over $1 million. Now, a portion of these reimbursements are for the last year request, but they came in, those requests came in, those refunds came in this year. So the OPEB trust is working very well for PUB. Also, during the FY 26 budget process, and as done in previous years, we budgeted for vacancy savings. That's shown in account 6260, that's second to the last. as an offset to personal expenses. This savings was calculated at 7% of wages. Actual savings for the first 6 months have been approximately 8.4% of the wages. Now, those savings are reflected in the first 5 accounts, 6101 through 6120. Basically, those savings reduce there's less expenses than anticipated because of the savings. And that's the end of the presentation. Any questions?
On the personnel, does that include the retirement changes that we made?
Yes, to the TMRS, I believe that's
Yeah.
6201. Yes, we're right on target at 50.2%.
So when something's like over budget by a substantial significant amount, what's the process then?
Well, we keep an eye, for example, the fuel, that account that we're looking at, the fuel, every month we review the accounts by department. We keep looking at it every time. We look at the trend, prior years, and if we feel that there's a need to increase the budget, we contact the department. Sometimes they reach out to us that they need more funds. So at that time, we go to contingency, which we have funds there, and if needed, we replenish those accounts that need those funds. We go through the requested funds, we review the accounts, we recommend to the director of finance, and then for them to make the decision to approve or deny that request.
So like there's a couple here that were pretty high. You know, like the operations section under non-personnel O&M. I guess overall for just want to make
Yes,
overall 70%, but do we expect the other items to kind of
sometimes they have special projects. In this case, if you're referring to 4220, 73.1. They have special projects that they incur the expenses at the beginning of the year, and we don't anticipate any more expenses, so we feel that they may end up at very close to the 100% of budget spent. But if need to, again, we have funds available. We can try from another within the division, from another department, or as a last resort, we go through contingency. Or if, let's say, assuming that there's no more funds, then we come to the board and request a budget amendment, but that has not been necessary in the last few years.
yeah, so like on operating, that 150 is the annual budget, right?
Which one is that one?
It's 4105.
Okay. Yeah, in this case, this is a project. That one, of course, they already exceeded, but we look also at the division that they are 70.1%. So we need to continue looking at this one, and I believe on this one, during the mid-year process, they did request a transfer from contingency to cover that amount.
Okay.
No, maybe, I mean, it's all very good information. I like the 3-year trend, right? Because that gives you a certain level of comfort, even if the midpoint is either less or above, you can kind of get a feel. I think what would be good, again, thinking about just the board, is we're always thinking, how can we support? How can we, it's good information for us, obviously, so we know, but more than that is how can we take action to support something? Is there a concern? So it's not clear to me that there's a specific concern on either you added from contingency, if the cost of something is increasing, and so that is what I would encourage you for next year to include that. That way it's easier, and you're already answering the questions, because anything that's over 200%, maybe it can have already a comment, and more for us, it'll just help us ensure that you guys are following up and that you have understanding, and you're documenting it just in those presentations. So that would be my general feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so item number 4, presentation and discussion on fiscal year 2027 budget calendar.
Mr. Chair, committee member, this is at that time of the year again, where it's time to plan for the budget process for the FY 2027 budget year. And here we have a few key dates from the budget calendar. Beginning in May, we already began the O&M and CIP process. This week, we're conducting three training sessions for like a refresher for current users and also there's new staff, so they know they get familiar with the budget program that we use. And also we implemented some slight changes to the process as well, so everybody's aware of what's new in this budget year. And today we're presenting the timeline to this committee. Coming in June, we will present on the 8th, we'll present the timeline to the board. June 15th through the 25th, we'll be conducting budget meetings with divisions to review the CIP and the O&M requests. July on the 17th, we anticipate to complete the first draft of the O&M budget. And then on the 29th, we'll be coming back and present the O&M budget draft to this committee. Then on the month of August, on the 10th, we'll present the O&M budget draft to the board. And then 17th to the 21st, that's when we conduct the individual board member O&M and CIP budget briefings. And then finally, on the September 14th, we present the FY 27 budget to the board for approval. And then these next two slides, that shows all the components of the process, which we have different, all the departments and IT, HR, and they're very much involved in the process. And again, it's very important to stay on schedule so we can meet all these deadlines. Questions?
That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, last item, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation on Brownsville Public Utilities Board printing and mailing service for bills and reminder notices.
Good afternoon, Chair and member of the board. My name is Ellen Garcia, and I'll be presenting the presentation. And before I start, I'll give you just an overall. Every month, approximately 62,500 bills are sent out by mail. Additionally, we send out by mail reminder notices and past due accounts, amounting to approximately 13,300 notices. On average, we mail out approximately 76,000 mail pieces per month.
Can you make, can you put your mic a little lower just for the audience?
Okay. Is this better? So I'm going to go over our timeline. The RFP advertisement invited proposals was published on March 21st and March 28th of 2026. 12 firms submitted proposals in response to the solicitation. The evaluation team met on May 18th to review, evaluate, and rank all submitted proposals based on the criteria established in the RFP. Following the evaluation process, InfoSend received the highest overall rating based on the demonstrated capability to provide the required deliverables, references, and proposed costs. For transparency purposes, the evaluation team also provided information regarding the top 3 ranked firms. The highest ranked firm is InfoSend. Total possible points was 275. They ranked 275. They have more than 30 years of USPS experience to ensure the lowest cost, pre-sort, and effective mailing setups. They specialize in serving over 700 utility clients nationwide of more than 900 total clients. They have worked in the past with us. They have over 3 years collaboration with BPUB, providing high quality printing and mailing services. They are corporate partners of Harris Computer Systems, working across all business units, including Kayanta, serving more than 125 Harris customers. They do not subcontract. InfoSend manages all printing in-house to maintain quality and efficiencies. During the first year of the contract, up to 40 hours of bill redesign services will be provided at no cost. However, we did receive an email that they would do unlimited hours for a bill redesign at no cost. Our second highest rank was Matrix Imaging Solutions LLC. They ranked at 265 points. They have more than 35 years serving the public sector. They've been partners with Harris Billings software systems for more than 15 years, providing extensive experience and longstanding expertise with this platform. They output billing service for 400 plus clients over the US. Matrix has served as our firm's trusted provider for over 2 years, consistently delivering high-quality printing and mailing services in support of BPUB's operations. Throughout our collaboration, they have demonstrated professionalism, reliability, and a strong commitment to meeting our service standards and project requirements. And Matrix is our current firm. Third highest rank is Doxen CCM. They came in at 255 points. They have over 25 years in printing and mailing services. They specialize in serving utilities and regulating industries. They have significant experience with Kayanta and other customer information systems. They support more than 110 utility clients handling high volume billing and notices. And they have had a long-standing partnership with the United States Postal Service, ensuring clients benefit from the most efficient postage rates and mailing practices. They have complimentary bill design services and will be providing it in the initial implementation phase. Our recommendation, the evaluation team recommends selecting InfoSend as the provider for Brownsville PUB printing and mailing services for the utility bills and reminder notices. InfoSend received the highest overall evaluation score and has an established working relationship with Brownsville PUB, including prior experience integrating with the Kayanta and Cogno system. Based on this existing partnership, the anticipation implementation timeline is estimated to approximately 4 weeks. In addition to their operational expertise, InfoSense offers the complimentary redesign. This added value service is expected to minimize the internal staff workload and reduce or eliminate the need to procure a separate bill redesign project, resulting in potential cost savings and a more efficient transition process. Any questions?
So who provides the service today?
Matrix.
Okay. That was pretty close.
Yes.
And in the score sheets, do y'all incorporate cost of service anywhere in these categories? Does that fall under?
Yes. Well, when we ranked them, it was part of it as well.
But is it in what area? Because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas. So methodology, experience, understanding needs, capability, technical experience, references. Is cost embedded in here someplace?
It is, I want to say it was. Diane, do you remember which one? Let me see, I don't remember right offhand. But we did include it,
The cost was very similar.
yeah. It was 40. I want to say it was under understanding of BPUB's needs. Yeah, because it was the 1 point difference from InfoSend and Matrix, which is our current provider. One thing that we did look at was also the bill redesign. So right now, the bill redesign, we have Matrix will do the bill redesign. They will provide it 10 to 15 hours at $1,200.
Okay.
We have InfoSend. It's unlimited at no cost. And then we have Doxen. Theirs comes in at I want to say it's at no cost at the implementation stage, but after that, it's $250 per hour.
Okay, so the redesign, InfoSend was more cost effective than Matrix?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, that's what put them over the edge.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
There's a redesign, I know we looked at, adding lines or whatever, right? There was a cost for that. So that's separate or that's part of the redesign?
That would be part of the redesign
If you add additional lines?
if we added, correct. But right now, since we're looking at possibly doing a new rate structure, it would not be, with the new rate structure, the bill that we currently have will not support it. So we would have to redesign the entire bill.
Okay,
It says recommendation here, but is it a recommendation to the board?
Good afternoon. This is Paul Gonzalez, the General Counsel, Chief Legal Officer. This was the result of a request for proposal
Okay,
and the standard that the board applies for a request for proposal is what provides the best value to PUB, not the lowest responsible bid, right? And this committee is an advisory committee and it may choose to recommend a particular course of action to the full board if it wants to.
do you want to recommend it or just
yeah, I think the recommendation is fine. I would probably add it on contingent, on
consent?
consent, sorry, for the regular board. Just if you can confirm the first question on the cost. I think that's a good question, and I'm sure other board members are gonna wanna see that or understand it. So just if you can highlight what section, the cost, is, cost of service.
Will do.
Paul, do we need to make a motion on this or just not really?
The practice at the committees has often been to just, with the instruction, there's no recommendation, but the committee is free to do so.
Okay, that's fine. All right, I agree. We should recommend it.
Thank you.
Okay, that's our last item. Any questions?
Questions,
Adjourn?
move to adjourn.